And we're going. GM Adrian, we're back.
Yo, we really are. Happy Monday. Sorry we're so late, everyone.
Sorry,
We had
guys.
people waiting in the waiting room for us. How nice
I'm
is that?
sorry. Hi. GM. All right. We've got a lot to talk about and we're running a little behind. So we're going to get right to it. And we will be back in 40 seconds after this little intro. Welcome to GM Farcaster, bringing you everything from breaking news to spicy memes to the deep lore shaping this vibrant digital community. More than just a show, GM Farcaster is your digital third space where the community connects, the stories unfold, and the culture thrives. Whether you're a daily caster or just dropping by, we've got the latest buzz to keep you plugged in. So grab your coffee and let's dive in with your hosts, Nanish Prof and Adrian, for another episode of GM Farcaster. GM Farcaster. It is Monday, April 21st, and you are here with Nanish Prof and Adrian for 29 minutes of Farcast news to start your day. And Adrian, you look so relaxed. It's kind of crazy.
It's the AI filter.
It's the filter and the strawberries in the background and the I just got back from holiday vibes.
So, I feel like I've been on vacation for months.
I know, it's been a week.
It's yes, let's hear it for vacations.
Yeah, real.
We took a week off.
Yeah.
And it feels like everyone's so cranky.
So cranky. So cranky.
And our chat's hilarious, very chatty today already, because I think people want to laugh today.
Yeah, I think so too.
We need a little, we need a light show.
For sure. We're going to do our best. We do have a question. Strawberries. Okay. What did I miss? So
it's a content coin, Brad. My background.
It's a coin.
It's a coin.
Basis for crankiness. Yes. I should go change my background. We're going to get to the coining of the things, but can you actually explain what were these strawberries and why did you coin them?
Okay. Yes, I was in London last week on a family vacation with 2 teenagers. We did all the touristy stuffs, had a blast. I casted a lot about my vacation. I still barely broke the top 100. So people say they like vacation content. They don't. Travel content. They don't. Not very engagement.
Not really. Anyway.
So what I casted about is because when you're traveling with teenagers, you have to hit all the TikTok famous spots. So yeah. I just think it's hilarious. So my teens are on like whatever TikTok food thing.
I didn't know this was a thing until you posted it, that this is like some kind of famous strawberries.
Yeah. So Borough Market, it's like a market in London. It's the site. There's been an active, like actual market there since like 1200, 1300, maybe like the 13th century, 12th century. Long time. Anyway, it's now turned into like a food hall. So, it's like you used to go get your groceries, your fruits and vegetables. Now it's like it's food hall. So it's like all the different stands. It was the most crowded place I've ever been. Hated it. I do not like crowds. But everyone has to go and kind of eat all this food. So one of these are these strawberries that are dipped in chocolate covered strawberries. They're gorgeous. Look at them.
Beautiful. Gorgeous. And they're TikTok famous.
And it's just like, you can't even imagine how many people are like shuffling into a line. They like shuttle you through this line like cattle. It's like so fast. And they're not strawberries. But they cost certainly as much.
Yeah, I was going to say, but they're probably at that level. So there you go. It is the TikTok famous, and now
I coined it.
And now they are available on Zora.
We're going to talk about Zora, I'm sure. I saw I got a notification that Nanish Prof bought some of this TikTok famous strawberries, and I was like, "Why
I'm the only one.
Why would you do that? You're not." But
Because I felt like it.
you're the only normal person.
I bought very few things in the current meta, but that was one just because there was, I knew it wasn't going to go up. I figured it would be a lovely stable coin to invest in.
Yeah, to be clear, I didn't make these TikTok. I'm not TikTok famous. These are the TikTok
We are
famous.
definitely not TikTok famous. We're barely Farcaster famous. Okay, let's jump in. I'm starting with this. Hope everyone had a happy Easter to those who celebrate. I just really liked these eggs with various crypto logos on them. I thought that was pretty cute. Crypto and Moon. So yes, I was off celebrating Easter yesterday, went to sunrise mass, and then just saw this morning that the Pope has passed away. So saying some prayers. Was my favorite Pope. Do with that what you will. If you can have a favorite Pope, I did. There we go. Moving on. Before we jump into all the things, I want to make sure folks are aware that if you are one of our hyper sub holders, we have 2 events coming up at FarCon. You can also request to come, but we're going to give first priority to our hyper sub holders. And we just refreshed it. So we have 1 hyper sub now rather than 2. So consolidated everything. If you are already active in one of our hyper subs, you should have received a new token. And there are 2 events to go look for. One is our breakfast meetup on Friday, right before the FarCon Summit. We have early access, 8 a.m. We're going to have breakfast. We're going to have swag bags. We only have spots for 20 folks. This one is super limited. I haven't even checked the wait list yet. I have to go check it and move some people over. And then we have karaoke happy hour on, that's going to be the first event. That is on Wednesday, 5 p.m. We still have some spots available. There is a wait list right now. I think those who are still on the wait list were not hyper sub holders. So I got to go through and look again, just kind of waiting to make sure we get all of them in first. So we're excited to see everybody at FarCon next week. Next week, Adrienne.
Yes, next week.
I can't. I stressed. Stressed. All right, to get us started, since Adrienne's been very much on vacation and I've been here, but also, I don't know, just trying to do my own thing, but not being very successful at it. 29 seconds of Farcaster from Brad Q. What did you miss this weekend? AfroChicks gave us a killer cast reminding us that bringing the world on chain means bringing the world on chain, and how Westerners need to understand and empathize with others, especially Africa perception of coming on FC. Really interesting. We'll show that cast in just a little bit. Tayab announced Octan's biggest FC retro funding round yet at up to 15 ETH. And Wednesday, we're going to have VP Abundance, James, on to chat about all things Octan, including this funding round, as well as Degens and Dragons. And if you aren't aware, make sure you check out Degens and Dragons, fun little card game that's all sort of tying into everything they're doing. And we've been sponsoring some mints. So if you catch it at the right time, right after we share it, you can get it free. Instead of for the very tiny amount, you can get it for free. I'm really like stopping at every section of this, Brad. Sorry. V shared that FC signups are headed to basically free, more free. Snap Chain allows.
Okay.
Get there.
How many definitions of free do we need?
Lots of free.
But none of them are free.
None of them are free. Except for the free things.
Except for the free things.
The free things. The tips for cast discussion evolved and heated up with notable FCers discussing a need for a cast response that tips 0.25 cents. In other words, we want warps tipping, but for other things. DWR.E teased a new feature for the sidebar. Bracky brought renewed interest to the NBA playoffs in a new format. This week in mini apps, hosted by Linda and Horsefacts, gave us a great rundown by Phil of the QR mini app by Jake, which shows the convergence of many FC building blocks. And then, of course, join us right now. I did watch the mini apps. I got there a little late, but that was very cool to see, and was excited to hear Phil once again claim to not be Jake. It was every time he does it, I get more and more suspicious. But whatever. So you can keep saying it, Phil. I'm not sure I believe it. Also wanted to grab this. This was from Since GM. This is also from Brad from Since GM Farcaster wasn't live this week to keep us up to date. Here are some notes for the week. Best story of the week, Camp Moody interviewing Rosalie's Rainbow and Shane Mack stepping up to change a little girl's life. Check that out. New video explaining FC mini apps from Linda, which is fantastic. There were some events surrounding Czech Snow's content goings. Yeah, we're going to catch up on that in just a little bit. Cast directly to Twitter, shared by Woj, and FC has a blog to capture ongoing announcements in one place. So that is new. So lots of new cool things have been happening, and we're going to dive into a few of them. Introducing trending topics. Did you see this?
I did.
Interesting. Introducing trending topics, algorithmic collections of casts about topics people are talking about. They update a few times a day. Mobile only to start. Update to the latest version of Warpcast from your app store and restart your app 1 to 2 times. Topics will appear on the search tab and in your feed while you're scrolling. We're running this as an experiment in Warpcast for the next couple months. So these are not channels that are trending. They're actually topics. So that's pulling from, I assume, within, what people are chatting about. So they are collections casts about popular topics defined by an AI-powered algorithm. Channels have no bearing on trending topics. Our topics on the protocol. The casts themselves are on the protocol, but the categorization and feeds are generated by Warpcast. These are developer tools like MBD that can provide this for your app. So this has been cool to see. I think it's a good little experiment. I will tell you that this is one of my go-tos on Twitter, is to go there and look at what's trending to get an idea of, is there anything that I need to dive into? So what do you think? Helpful, not helpful?
Yeah, I just think it's another step on the way towards kind of maturing Warpcast feed and discovery of what people are talking about. Long ago, right? Like this goes back to the whole hashtag, like there's no hashtag meta.
Yeah.
And hashtags are really just a way of like human categorizing what we're talking about. Dan famously hates hashtags because they're prone to injection and cringe and all the things. And ultimately, if we're old enough to remember small social networks, like you used to be able to scroll and see everything. When a social network gets so big, like you're never going to see all the content. So then this is like the machine learning way of identifying what's trending. So very cool. I did see it in my feed. He claims they update 3 times a day, but if you don't change what we're talking about, they don't.
They don't.
I was like, oh, we're still talking about the same 3 things?
We're still talking about that. I know. I was just going to go look and see what's trending right now. Yeah,
so
exactly.
I didn't find
that's a bit of an issue. If we're not actually changing what we're talking about.
And the problem with Warpcast, not the problem, but when you're starting a new social network from scratch, you're so you're 20 years behind Twitter?
Yeah.
So you're constantly going to be playing catch up. So are the trending topics as good as where I've seen other places? No, but it'll get there.
No,
it's cool. We got to get there. Yeah. I mean, it's the first step. So I think it's cool.
Yeah, it is a first step. I have been a big fan of the trending feed for a long time. We've had this discussion with Dan before, even that this is something that I have been advocating for, because there was a moment when they were going to take away the trending feed. And I was like, no, please don't do that. Because I do find it very useful for finding things that I may have missed on my own algorithm, on my own home feed. And also to see what people are actually talking about. It's not foolproof either, because it's still, it's obviously going to get captured by either what larger accounts are talking about or what they're interacting with. It can be something that can happen, but also I have found brand new people on there. Yeah. So it can go either way.
I love the trending feed because sometimes I find the algo feed a little boring. Yeah. Or I go to following and it's just a way, I look at it as how do I find bangers?
Right. Exactly.
Like cast that other people don't
Exactly.
really think.
Yeah. And also just to see what are people vibing with, because when you see
Mhm.
things really trending, like in a very organic way, that can make a big difference. Yeah. All right. Moving on. We had this from Gabriel Oeso. The web developer tools just got a fresh coat of paint. The tools are focused on validating, previewing, and publishing your mini apps. We removed building the JSON builder, since starter projects and other tools can help with that. More to come. We also removed local host support because it didn't work well and it was a source of frustration for devs. We recommend using a tunnel instead. I assume that you understand what he's talking about. Then there was, oh, this was over here. I think I've already got this over here. One more thing, we now provide you with analytics for your mini apps on the web developer tools. We call them charts, starting with unique users, opens, transactions, unique users with a transaction. So that's cool. Always good to see more analytics and data. Always super helpful. There's a lot happening with the mini apps as well. And I wanted to point this out, mini app builders. This is from Aneri. I often get asked how to make sure your mini app works well in Coinbase Wallet. One of the biggest issues, mini apps that use Warpcast deep links, many even buttons that say share to Warpcast, where users are dropped into a dead end logged out Warpcast screen in the browser. To ensure full compatibility across clients, switch from Warpcast intent URLs to using Composecast from the Farcaster Mini Apps SDK. So just a few different things that have been happening in terms of mini apps. A lot of people are building like crazy. I've been wanting to try to create something with the Ohani AI and didn't get a chance to do that, but I haven't even had a chance to tell you this. they're gonna pop on next week to chat with us about the Ohani AI frame mini app builder. I keep wanting to say frame. So that's going to be fun and really cool to see all this development going. And it's, perfectly timed for when Coinbase Wallet starts to integrate Farcaster. So cool to see. So going back to this,
Aneri's cast is super interesting, by the way.
Yeah, for sure.
Because you don't think, like, just in her example of like you're using like if you the protocol and Warpcast, Farcaster and Warpcast more or less are the same. Like we've had other clients you're using. Mm-hmm. So with the Coinbase Wallet, kind of, I think it'll be a large client. All of a sudden, when you're an app developer, are you building on top of Warpcast, right? Then you can go ahead, add all your Warpcast links. But if you're building on top of a protocol, how do you make it so that other clients can use your app? So it's not really built on Warpcast, it's Farcaster, and we've not seen it. Like we haven't really needed to see it for the first time. So I think this is going to be super interesting to play out.
Yeah, for sure.
And what does that mean? Like, there is no like widespread standardized protocol for like, how do I get this cast that's on a protocol? Like there's no URL that you can hit. That's protocol.
Right. So it's going to be, it's really interesting to see all this kind of coming together and thinking about it from how do you optimize for multiple clients rather than just for one client. So yeah, it's cool to see all these things coming together and seeing everyone playing with so many apps right now. And there's so many cool things that are popping up. I don't know if you saw this. I think I had this for a little bit later, but let me see if I can grab it really quick. This was very cool. I think there were some issues. This is from Mike, MYK. I had some issues and couldn't quite get it working, but in terms of like the idea of it, I think it's really cool. This is from Mike. This weekend, I created Flock in an on-chain Cameo mini app on Farcaster for creators. Complete requests for videos, earn on chain for users, get personalized videos from people on Farcaster, leave reviews for others, built with on-chain kit. So they do have this on-chain mini app kit now for building mini apps that will work also in Coinbase Wallet. So check that out. And Zoe has been working with folks to do workshops and things like that. But this was really cool to see. I couldn't quite get it working. I got to circle back to it and see if I can. But I thought like really good concept of, you want Adrian to say happy birthday. I don't know like why you'd want somebody on here, but you might. So it's kind of cool. Like, okay, this could be interesting.
That's really cool. Yeah.
Yeah, could be interesting. Moving on. Improve sharing this is from Dan. Improve sharing to X and other apps with much improved image. And this is from Woj and Blockheim. Blockheim's been like working overtime for design, man. Like they got her working overtime right now. The funniest was, I don't think I pulled the comment. She made a comment about the slides that Linda and Horsefax were using. It was like, she had thoughts. Did not care for them. But this is very cool to see. New on Warpcast, share a cast straight to X and other apps. Not much to say here. Please share your favorite posts with your friends. Links and DMs, images to X and IG. Live on mobile and web. Please tag me if you see any bugs. So this is the just an example here of being able to share it as an image, a little cleaner for X, for Twitter. And because I don't know if anyone remembers, when you would share it as an image, there would be a lot of white space and it really just didn't look clean. So this is a great improvement. So there you go. Easier sharing. Lots of fun. Snapchain is now live. This is from V. Warpcast and Nanar are reading and writing from Snapchain. This is the replacement to Hubs to make things a lot faster and scalable. Casting across apps is now faster, more reliable, and more likely to scale as Farcaster grows. I recorded a new beginner-friendly video series to explain how this works. That's from V, not me. I should have said V recorded. So go check that out if you want to learn more about Snapchain, especially if you're running, if you were running a hub or are now running Snapchain, like make sure you're aware of what this is all about, or if you're building anything on Farcaster, really important to check this out. Also from V, Warpcast Wallet makes gas problems go away. If you need ETH on base but only have USDC, the wallet will prompt you to swap it as part of your transaction. Users don't have to think about gas. It just works. So this is very cool. This is from Pyros 3, Daniel. New feature, gasless mini app interactions. Warplet now enables mini app transactions even without sufficient ETH. So that's very cool. If you're in a mini app and are being prompted to do something, it will help you do that without a lot of swapping and craziness. So very cool. This is a new FIP, storage redenomination. The goal is to get to effectively free signups by reducing fees to 5C over time. At this price, apps will be able to sponsor users who pass Sybil checks. So that is very cool. So this is, I have not read this. Have you had time to look at this at all? This FIP? I haven't either. So I don't know too much about it, but it looks like it's just a different way to deal with storage, is my understanding. And everything is in a goal to make this eventually free and storage free. But I don't know what that means exactly. Does that mean that will it still keep everything? Is there going to be any limitations?
It may just be, I guess we should read it instead of just guessing.
We should probably just read it.
But what they've done before is they reduce the amount of storage you get by default and thus reduce how much it costs to get your first account. And I think the idea is like, how do you make that first sign up so cheap that apps can sponsor users to, like, you're not gonna, like, dead on arrival if you're like, hey, here's a new social app, pay 5 cents, take out your credit card.
Right.
Like, why are you asking me to pay? I have to pay $5?
Right.
No.
Right. Exactly.
Not. So it's possible they're just kind of shrinking what your default is. And then instead of maybe getting one storage, it'll be enough. You need more. Who knows? I'm completely making this up. You know what I sound like? I sound like ChatGPT, except not as confident. Like, I don't know. I casted this yesterday. I was looking at ChatGPT yesterday, and it was completely hallucinating something. Like completely, it built this whole Farcaster minimum censorship protocol for
I
Farcaster.
saw that. I forgot to pull it. Yes, that was hilarious.
And I'm like, what the F are you talking about? You're
just making stuff up
completely making things up, but so confident. So I don't know.
So we're going to start doing that. We're going to completely make things up, but sound confident about it. Speaking of things we don't have to make up, Farcon next week. This is from Emma. Side events keep on rolling. Morning run with Carlos and Web3 runners. Mini app spotlight with Seed Club. Builders happy hour with Genek and Bolt Capital. Reminder that tomorrow is the last day to sign up for the Farcon Open. So if you want to play whatever that's called again, oops, it's probably closed already. So check out everything on farcon.nyc for all the info about what's happening with side events as well as the summit. And as we mentioned, we have a breakfast the morning of the summit and a happy hour on Wednesday. So we hope to see everybody. Really excited. And we have Emma on Friday. So Friday, we'll be chatting with Emma. We'll be going over all the Farcon things. So if you're coming to Farcon, you're going to want to listen in. And even if you're not, just to know what's happening. This from Phil, Amps for All, starting tomorrow, which was a week ago. Anyone can buy recasts from their followers via Amps. Fun. If you're already registered, there's nothing more you need to do to be eligible to earn. Some users, like TLDR, have already earned hundreds of dollars by simply registering their profile and setting their recast price. I don't know why he got called out in that, but that was kind of funny. If you are not registered, you can do so by visiting the mini app. This will give people you follow the ability to buy likes and recasts from you for a fee. Our priority with this rollout is to expand the number of buyers and help our registered signers earn more. However, with more buyers comes bad actors. We have implemented several anti-spam measures to maintain quality. We'll be actively monitoring this week to make sure posts meet our quality standards and reacting quickly if we see something we don't like. And then you can check out that at amps.fun. I did make some adjustments. I was trying to play around with the pricing just to see, like, I don't know, just to experiment. So I did reduce mine just to see if it increased any usage or anything like that, just for the heck of it. Seems about the same, which is interesting, but maybe a couple newbies. So, but interesting. It's an interesting experiment. Phil's been making the rounds, so it's been cool to learn more. And we did do a replay of his interview with us, so you can catch just that under the live area on YouTube if you want to swing by. This from Colin. This was an incident that happened while you were gone. I don't know if you even knew what happened. So there was a hack of Ponder. So the Ponder wallets. So update on the incident. We've identified critical vulnerability with the withdrawal API. While there was an exploit that allowed unauthorized withdrawals to bypass our security checks. We've frozen withdrawing funds on smart wallets until this is fully resolved. Most importantly, all smart contracts, admin wallets, and user smart wallets remain fully secure and uncompromised. The root cause was an authentication spoofing technique in our API routes due to architectural constraints within our auth system. We've learned a lot from this exploit and are implementing more robust security measures to prevent a situation like this from ever happening again. All affected users have been refunded. It says will be refunded this week, but everybody's been refunded. And it was about $7,000 that was taken. So craziness. But everything is back online and everyone has been refunded. The attacker was in Paris, for what that's worth. So there you go. I don't know. It's probably that same guy. Do you remember the French hacker who did Ticker, $ Ticker? Do you remember that at all? It was probably a year ago.
Yes. It sounds like, it feels like a decade ago.
Yeah.
Barely.
He was from France. I don't know what made me just think of that. Maybe it's him. Maybe he's back. Anyway, we
Oh,
talked about that
I'm
already.
sure. Yes, I'm sure that was a stressful time for our Ponder folks
I
to
know.
friends
I
to be
know.
dealing with. Um,
I honestly barely
and
saw what was going on until it got to the point of like we've refunded everybody, and I was like, oh, I didn't even
yeah,
notice what happened. So all good. Um, I almost used one of these photos as my background, and I should have, and then I forgot. The pirate cooks even harder at home. Good comment, Brian. This is an article from Architectural Digest that actually tours Dan's home. So
amazing.
amazing. And it's quite lovely and homey. So there you go. If you're feeling very nosy, there you go. It's kind of fun. This from Grin, me moving fast and breaking things at Nanar. So I was surprised to see this as well. Push PR to prod on your first day, cause an outage on your first day. So I did not know that he was working with Nanar. So that's very cool to see, Grin. And congrats. I didn't know that either. So did that just happen, I guess? Yeah.
Yes.
First
Yeah.
day. Okay.
Um,
And that was funny that you said, oh my God, saw this, had to run to your feed to see what I missed. Love to see some of my favorite people come together. Congrats. And Grin said, thank you. Now you and Prof aren't the only match made at FC1. That's Farcon 1. But I think there was actually there was already more than that.
I'm sure there are more, but that's
Yeah.
super cool.
Very cool. Very cool to see. This was from Ted regarding spam labels. And I thought this was helpful to those who might be looking for assistance in getting rid of their spam labels. She said there are 5 most common pieces of feedback that I give. Don't only post mini apps. Think of Warpcast as early Facebook. If someone only posted Dolphin Olympic screenshots every day,
Don't even know
people
what
will
that is.
tune them out. 2, avoid overly generic content. Casting GM or inspirational quotes is fine occasionally, but if your feed feels interchangeable with anyone else's, it's hard for people to connect with you. I mean, we love a good GM, but also, yeah, go beyond that. Don't use AI thoughtlessly. People notice when casts or replies feel like ChatGPT wrote them. It's fine to use AI, just add real thoughts or emotions. Authenticity wins here. Also, don't just use ChatGPT when you're writing your votes with reasons and various DAOs. Don't repost stolen photos. This is a big one. Art from the internet. Farcaster values original content or curation that reflects your taste, not just what's trending on Pinterest, Reddit, or X. Especially when it's so easy to create your own thing. Like, just create your own thing. Quality over quantity. You don't need to cast 10 times a day or reply to everyone everywhere. Take time to cast things you would stop scrolling to read. Good advice from Ted. I have been noticing, I've been very hesitant to discuss it. I don't know, and we're gonna get to. Let me get to Naomi's too, if I can find it. Oh, I don't think I pulled it. I am having a hard time telling who is real and who is not right now. And I
Real
have a
as
hard,
in human versus AI,
yeah.
or human versus, or like engagement farming versus genuine people.
I mean, you can be engagement farming and still be a person. And if you're engagement farming in a way that doesn't feel exploitive, I'm okay with that. I don't know how to, there's a weird line for
Yeah.
me, and I'm having a hard time finding the line because I have suddenly a lot more people in my replies and it gets a little bit time taxing. So I'm struggling to determine how to handle that, I guess is the best way to put this. Where I don't want to offend anyone, and I appreciate those who are coming with positive intent. But at the same rate, if you're only interacting with me to get me to interact with you so you can get further up on the leaderboard, like that's getting to be a bit much. So
Yeah.
regardless of
feel
whether or
like you
not you're
need to
AI or not, you know what I mean? Like
right.
it doesn't matter. So
Do you feel like you need to reply to people who've who've replied to your casts?
Yes, I do. So that's, and I have to start to create a line there, and I don't know where that line is yet. So I'm figuring it out. I had more time last week, so I didn't worry about it too much, but I noticed it a lot more in the past couple weeks. So I'm trying to figure out, like, also I don't want to necessarily encourage that behavior too.
Right.
It's a little bit of that of like, I don't really want to encourage this. So trying to figure it out. Vote without reason. I wish yes to crypto. No, it's vote with reason. And sometimes it's vote with reason via chat GPT. Yeah, it's been I told you everybody's cranky. It's a lot of cranky people on the timeline lately. Not Ted. Ted's never cranky. All right, moving on. Couple more things, and then we're going to dive into the coining of it all. I know. We're already.
We haven't even talked about coins.
We haven't even talked about coins. This was so funny from Zinger. Wow, just walked by not even an hour later, and they already had it updated. Even winced a little when I dropped Linda's name. Looked like they were covering up some bruises and sweeping up some broken glass. Mini app. This was there's a quote cast of Linda's trigger because it said frame. Triggered. Amazing. And then Singer changed it to mini app, which very funny, very creative.
That was funny.
Yeah, I like that one. So very funny. There's been a lot of cool AMAs happening. So if you, they've kind of amped up again, which I think is great. And this was from Dan. Welcome to R.R. Hoover, founder of Product Hunt. He kindly agreed to do an AMA. This was a while ago on April 11th, 10 days ago, but it still exists on the timeline. So if you're interested, go check it out. I wanted to share that. This is from Dan. Team is cooking something on web. Don't know what. Don't know what. We don't know what. So waiting to see. It's not here yet, but.
Can we tell? I did not even see this yesterday. Can you tell? Are there like anything on the screenshot that gives?
No, nothing that I can tell. He blocked it all out. So I don't know. But I'm curious because I do use this on web a lot. But I wonder, okay, right as we started, I had to adjust something. So I have our screen set up. So when I share, you see most of the screen, but we don't have too much extra space. And I had to move this over the side, the cast over to be able to see the full thing. So I think there was something adjusted. It's wider. Because if it wasn't, so something's up, but I'm not sure what. So I thought that was interesting. This from, I'm going to come back to that in 1 second. This from Tab, and we're going to be talking more to James on Wednesday, BP Abundance, about this, announcing Farcaster Network Goods Funding Round, Spring 2025. The biggest retro PGF round yet is coming to Farcaster, hosted on Rounds. We're rewarding builders, tools, and public goods that have delivered real value to the network. So this is going to be happening very soon. Initial funding momentum, we've already secured 6 ETH from Octon and DWR, with Purple expected to join soon with a goal of 15 ETH. For the first time, we're inviting the Farcaster community to contribute directly via a dedicated contribution mini app launching soon. Let's fund the ecosystem together. So very exciting. And we'll have more about this on Wednesday. All right. I'm going to shift a little bit here because this is going to roll into our next conversation. Some loosely held beliefs on how money will flow to creators. This is from V. Sponsor, get status appreciation or access. Collect, acquire aesthetic artifacts for status. Invest, get upside from being early. Buy, get useful services. I think these are fundamental social contracts that are hard to change, and content coins don't fit neatly into them today. It could be collect, but the aesthetics are not dialed in. Why am I collecting 1,123,890 of these? Will having this give me a smile when I see it next? Will someone have a conversation with me about this? It could be invest or speculate, but where do gains come from? Creators don't want to pump for good reason. So the best hope is that it becomes a meme despite the creator's intent. Pump works because meme creators are unabashedly pumping. There also isn't any scarcity or exclusivity, literally billions of things. It could be sponsored, but it feels so indirect. The creator doesn't even know who is buying the coins. In most cases, they don't get any status in return. To be clear, I think it's great to experiment with new things for creators. I think there is another iteration of content coins that could do really well. It might only be a few clicks from what we have today, but those differences are very important and we need to iterate towards them. Okay, I kind of jumped in a weird place, but I liked the thinking here of different ways to support creators. And I had started thinking about that from the perspective of GM Farcaster and how do we sort of align the way we have different ways in which everyone can support us, from free things. And I ended up putting a cast out, which I forgot to throw on here, of here's 7 different ways that you can support us that don't cost you anything. Literally, like, and it's huge for us to just, be following us, liking us on YouTube, liking us on Spotify, liking, all those kinds of things. Subscribing, all of that helps us in many different ways that folks probably don't understand, because then it gives us one more metric when we are going to sponsors to say, hey, do you want to sponsor us? Here's our audience, etc. So there's that also. But I did think it was interesting because yes, exactly. Subscribe and smash the like button.
Costs
I hated
you nothing.
saying that so much, but it's true.
We're quoting.
We're quoting. I hate it, but it's true. All of this is coming in the discussion of content coins. Okay.
What's a content coin?
Why?
I was on vacation last week. What's a content coin?
It's a meme coin that hasn't fully memed its way to memeability. Okay. So I'm trying to decide where to start. Okay. So for a very long time, Zora existed to be able to mint NFTs. So you could go on there and mint videos, any kind of media, written media, many different types of things, PDFs, many things you could mint as an NFT. And GM Farcaster, for the first 2 seasons, all of our content was minted as NFTs on Zora. When we started, for a while, that was the only place you could actually see the recording. So we were really dedicated to on-chain first. It became unscalable. So we shifted a little bit. I'm choosing my words so wisely here. And also because Zora changed their approach. And they changed their approach gradually over time. A lot of people think it was sudden, but it really wasn't. If you look at the past year, they have been slowly going into this direction. And also, if you look at Jacob, co-founder of Zora, his writing for the past couple of years, he has talked about content being able to coin any kind of content, tokenize any kind of content. And he's talked about this like extensively about that every type of content is going to be tokenized at some point. And thinking about it from the lens of larger social media platforms like TikTok, like Instagram, and looking at it as a way to support creators with sort of micro payments of support. Okay. So we went from, you can drop an NFT on there, then it shifted and you can set the pricing. And then it shifted to a free mint meta where essentially there was a fee, but you were paying this fee to Zora. Zora was splitting the fee with the creator. And that was a 0.000777 amount. It ended up being at that, I think at the highest point, it was like $3 or something like that, or less, depending on the price of ETH. Then there was this integration of ERC20s. So they integrated with Uniswap to be able to price in any kind of ERC20. So you could price it in degen, for example. So there was that moment. And then it shifted to anytime you put an NFT up there, it would be split into a coin. If it hit a certain number of mints, it would become a coin. And then it was everything becomes a coin, even if it doesn't hit a certain number of mints. To where we are now. So now where we are is that there is no NFT. There's essentially a fractionalized, I don't even know what you're fractionalizing because you're not fractionalizing anything. There's nothing there you're owning. You're owning an ERC20 that's being created from the content. Once the content is posted, what's happening is it's being issued as an ERC20 that you can collect, like those strawberries behind you. But you're not going to see the strawberries in your wallet. You're going to see the ERC20 tokens in your wallet. Okay, so this is where we are. Then this happens. For those who weren't paying attention over the past couple of years, since Base launched, they have been launching things on Zora. They have been minting stuff on Zora. They were minting NFTs. There's a famous NFT that launched day one, and it's called the Day One NFT by Base. And they have minted many different things over the years since they launched with regards to content on Zora. So this past week, they launched everything Basis for Everyone. The thing that's behind me, right there, as a coin on Zora. So that happened, and it happened quickly. So for those who weren't paying attention, let me step back here. This seemed like a new thing to some people, that it was brand new and that Base was launching a token, and they speculated to a point of thinking that because a couple of snipers sold very early, that Base was rugging the token. So they were looking at this launch in a traditional tokenized sense of like, oh, this is a protocol token, and therefore they rugged the token because it went up and it came right down, like at many such cases. Then there was a flurry of activity, including a Twitter space. No, Base did not rug the token. No, they did not. They did not sell any of the token. It was just random people who picked it up. There are snipers. There are snipers who have bots that are set to pick up certain tokens as soon as they hit. This happens on every platform that you can think of. Like, I don't care what the platform is. There are people set to do this. So that's what's happening there. And then Jesse goes on, does this Twitter space. It's crazy. But during the Twitter space, the token starts to go back up again. So it actually ends up at a higher high than the top part before that point. But while that's all happening, there's a lot of FUD happening, and a lot of people calling them out. And it comes down to that this was a, Coinbase is Coinbase. And even though Base is its own separate thing, there was a lot of feelings about what they should and should not be doing. And then one more thing happened after that is that, Jesse, in sort of saying, we're going to be supporting this no matter what, kind of made a little misstep. And here's how I take this when this all happened. This particular misstep was that he buys every coin. He buys a lot of them. And he has been doing that forever. Like when I say that, forever, like this is not new. So he minted or whatever, collected a coin by an artist. That artist had a couple bases for things that Base is not really for. But in defending the artist, he kind of stepped in it a little bit and went a little too far, and then ended up apologizing for making these errors. So can't long post on here. This is from Jesse. So here's a screenshot. TLDR, I believe in coining. I'm hopeful we'll see more experimentation. I'm sorry for my tweet this morning. And that was, he ended up sharing this and a lot of people minted it. And there was a lot of offense on the timeline. I'll just put it that way. Okay. I think I've done my best to explain it. I have a few other things to pull up, but I want to pause there for a moment. You had an interesting conversation about all of this.
Oh.
You want to share a little bit about that?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think this is one of the first stories where it just starts reaching like the broader population.
Yeah.
So, I don't even know where to go.
So it was in a newsletter that you read, right?
Yeah. The Token Dispatch newsletter is like a daily newsletter. And they covered it. I didn't read it, by the way, but all of a sudden, but they covered it. And my husband read it. So he came in, he's like, oh, what happened? I saw something on base and it's just, he's like, it's really bad. And this is the story, like, it's like when the story is base launched a token and rugged everyone. And there were insiders, there were insider wallets that had access to the token before they announced it. Then they sold it, $17 million. Like this was the narrative. So I'm giving a little more color into, or just kind of context. And then it came down to like, well, Jesse believes that everything should be tokenized. Like everything is on chain. And then I found got into the argument of like, but why? Like, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Why should everything be tokenized? So just going back and like when Zora kind of came out with like, we're not doing NFTs, we're doing coins. We've had so much talk of like, but why? And not understanding it. It's really, and I found myself in this weird position of defending token everything because I wanted to play devil's advocate and share this other side of the story, but I'm not even sure. So I would just go back to what Jesse's kind of saying. And I'll give Jesse so much credit. He is out in public.
Yeah.
I can't even imagine like the volume of comments that got thrown his way. Good, bad, ugly, everything.
Ugly. Some of it was very ugly.
Some ugly, a lot of cheerleading for him too. Right. Like, and I just, what I find from Jesse is like, he's really, really consistent.
Yes.
And owning. So this isn't new. Like he's been saying forever, put everything on chain. Right. So how do you get there? So the only thing I would kind of say in his like the three things he believes is like the first thing is everything should be on chain.
Yep.
Is that what he said? Or was that his one? Or
I believe in coining. He said coining.
Yeah.
But we know that coining. I think this part is probably better where it's where he says, to be explicit, the North Star for base is to grow the number of builders and creators on chain. Creators and builders then generate the supply of use cases, content, et cetera, that will onboard everyone else. Everything we do is in this pursuit. This is why we've been focused on Farcaster from the beginning and continue to double down. It's a hotbed of creators, e.g. posters, and builders, e.g. mini app devs. It's also why we're relentlessly working to grow the pie of who and what you can create, e.g. with Zora. So, yeah.
So just think of like, if you think of like concentric circles, like I also believe the world should be on chain. Like just, or, and what does that even mean? I don't know. Right. Like, but generally I believe the more, but then the further you get away from people who live and breathe kind of what does that mean? The more you lose the message and people cling to things, right? So when I'm in this conversation yesterday and I'm like, well, we believe everything should be, but why? That's the dumbest thing ever. I was like, I don't have the argument immediately to answer that because, so it's how do you get
when
that
when
out?
I think about this from like financial, when I think about it from financial products and from like most things that go through a bank, I could say most of those things should be tokenized because it's easier, it's cheaper. There's a lot of reasons. Once you get outside of that sphere, it doesn't make as much sense. And I'm talking like Larry Fink has said this from BlackRock. Like it's not just, us crazy crypto people. Like they see it because it makes sense from a technological perspective, from a use case, all the things. You see it happening with Stripe, you see it happening with PayPal, like Visa, like it's coming, it's all happening. But does every single piece of content need to be a token?
It also comes down to what is content.
Right.
So the way I got him when in our conversation, he's like, well, I can see if you have content, like actual content. So what is actual content? A GM Farcaster show. Like that's a piece of content. Here's an article. That's a piece of content. Basis for everyone. And this is, he was like,
Right.
that's like, how is that content? Right?
It's
how
art.
are memes content?
Right.
How, then who defines what content is? So then
Right.
I just realized it's like people just, like if you're not spending time living and breathing, you're not thinking about it. But it's like if you want to get on the masses and get people to understand, and also people like financially, I think most people understand money.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean you're good with it. Doesn't mean you know what to do with it, but you understand the concept of it. Most people, like, actually, I don't know if most, but there's a lot of people who don't live in social media. They don't create, right? What's the
They
one,
don't?
like 1%?
Yeah, I know.
90% of people are not creating content. There's a lot of people who aren't using content, like using social media.
They're just consuming. They're just consuming. And I think the idea behind all this, if you think about that like that, is and we see this happening, we've seen it play out. We've seen it with Yum Yum, So Good, ice cream, hello, TikTok chick, creating content in that way, where you're, you know what I mean? Like there's all these different ways, but rewarding the creators and finding new ways to reward the creators. Do I think that's a good thing? Yes. Do I think every single approach to it's going to work well? Probably not, because the biggest thing in this that's missing is the social graph and the social piece of this. Like if you're building this into something like TikTok, like Instagram, that already has hundreds of millions of users, it makes a little more sense to you.
Yeah.
When you have to start it from ground up, it's much harder, obviously. So are you going to have all the users there who can then appreciate the content and want to, tip you on it, essentially? And that's essentially what this is, right? But in a different kind of way. So the only way it makes sense, and by the way, if you go back to the day that they launched this new model, you'll hear me saying the same exact thing somewhere. Ask GMC 101, but I guarantee I said it before. The only thing that makes sense is if it's integrated into a social graph and into a network that already exists, or a larger network. So where does that make sense? Coinbase Wallet. Then it makes sense. So obviously this has been the direction and is the direction. And it's also like, it makes sense for it to be connected with Farcaster. It makes sense. Like where you're going to see the content organically, where I'm going to see your strawberries was on Farcaster. Because I was seeing, I'm following you anyway. So I saw your strawberries there. And then if I wanted to mint it, it needs to be easily integrated where I can just go click. If I have to go out to somewhere else or do something else, then it's unlikely that I'm going to take that next action. So it doesn't make a lot of sense. So this is why I think these things are going to start to come together in a more integrated way. And it's the only thing that makes sense to me. But also for me, there's a lot of things I'm not going to collect as a coin. I'm just not, because it's not collecting. If I want to actually collect something, I want the NFT, and we can have the whole big discussion about it's not really on chain, it's IPFS, blah, 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 but I can still see it in my wallet. So great example of this was right after the basis for everyone situation. I just went to, so I could see this when this got released, and that went crazy. They released one that was the Farcon poster. And my first thought was, I want to mint this, but I want it as an NFT. I don't want the coins. I don't want 1 million of these coins. For this thing, I would like to own this, but I want it as an NFT, and maybe even a physical piece. But I don't necessarily want a piece of art as a coin. So, yeah. Thoughts?
Okay, right. So this goes, and Mike has a comment, like comparing, like, why does that? People used to say, why does every business need a website? Like, I remember that. Like,
Yes,
why?
I do too.
The answer to be found. Why does
Yeah.
content need a coin? The answer to be assigned value. It may not make sense today, but it might make sense tomorrow. Right.
You're right.
Maybe. And
Yeah.
we'll see. And in
And
order
that's
to
been
get
the other
there,
thing
like,
I've said many times when I've been sort of critical of this direction has been, but I could be very wrong. And I am
totally, yeah.
totally, I could be totally wrong. This could be the absolute right direction, and it's just not vibing with me because I've been here a while. And it might be the exact right direction for the newbies coming in.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And you'll only know until when everything is tokenized, right? Then you could be like, oh, is there value in here? Because you'll start to see new behavior emerge. But go back to like what fundamentally, what is it about blockchains? Like, what do they give you? So one is ownership. And that's like from the NFT perspective, I think that really is like the psychological thing that you want. Like, if you're a collector, you want to own. That's the most important thing. And it doesn't feel like the new Zora, like you're not owning. What are you owning? It doesn't feel the same. But the other, right? So kind of what Mike brings up is like the assigning value. Yeah. And that is kind of the beauty that I see in Farcaster is like from a social media perspective, like there's tons of value in social media and it's all captured by platforms. What I love about Farcaster is like, what sort of ways can we see value being dispersed in a more equitable, fair way to the creators? So that is interesting. So from a Zora, I've been playing around with Zora. I like seeing things I've coined because it feels like an album, right? I don't own them, whatever, but it's just expression. It's like self-expression. These are things that I'm expressing in art, not art. Wouldn't even say art, but just visual expression. Yeah. But then you've got your thing of like, what are the coins you've collected? Yeah. And that's also another, it's not my wallet, right? I don't own it. It's not, but it's a visual representation of things that meaningful me. And these are like when I've coined things in the past or collected, it's because it's someone I know that it's like another way of tipping. It's like, I just want to signal, I like what you're doing.
And I get that perspective of like, I want to signal, I like what you're doing. I want to signal, I liked this image, this post, this thought, this writing, whatever it is. But that's why in that respect, it only makes sense to me when it's really smoothly integrated into a social graph. Mm-hmm. And I know Zora is trying to be its own standalone social graph. I just think it's going to struggle in that way, but we'll see. Also, I could be wrong.
Why could be wrong. Zora not use Farcaster for the social graph and just be I
think it is. I think it is. I think this is all going to come together as part of Coinbase Wallet is the way I'm seeing this. And based on who's saying what and how they're saying it, that's what it appears to be for me. Because if you look at Farcaster's already integrated into Zora, because if you look at who you see when you log in, if your Farcaster account is part of your Zora profile, you will tend to see the people you follow on Farcaster. Because like I see your stuff on there. It's one of the, you know what I mean? I see people that I follow on Farcaster there first. And then I see other things that are trending. So there's it's definitely there.
Want to know what I see?
What do you see? I don't think I do.
My entire Zora feed, no joke, is
horses.
Jesse bought this, Jesse bought this. No, because I follow Jesse. I don't follow enough people. Yep. And it's just everything Jesse bought. So I think that's funny. Okay, here's my question. Yep. I wanted to cast this, but I didn't really want to but I'll ask you.
Yeah. Ask the chat.
I'll ask the chat. It'll be just a question to put out there. What I found, one of the most interesting things about the entire like meta over the past week is the only criticism I've heard is on Jesse personally and Base personally. It was Jesse and Base. I've seen nothing about Zora.
Oh, yeah. Well,
and nothing about Jacob. Like there was like no criticism.
I think there has been.
I've not seen it. So that's what I was like.
I've seen the criticism of
like,
well, I also saw it when it first launched, but I was actually some of the criticism. Maybe that's why I saw it. But from artists as well, talking about exactly what we've been talking about, exactly what Cyber Shakti just said. And I've said this too. 100% give us NFTs, give us our tools back. My biggest criticism of Zora is I think this is an interesting exploration of a direction, but why didn't you just keep Zora Classic as well? And I realize that there's complications in that, but also that's would have been, I think personally, a better way to approach this, because then you would not have lost so many of the artists and creators who were loyal to you along the way while you were creating this new thing. So then you lost some of the people that you want to create content because they're pissed. So
can we just, yeah. By the way, Builder Day, for FarCon Builder Day, I wonder if we can just like, someone can hack together a quick mini app that is Zora Classic, just like an NFT launcher.
It exists. The code's out there. Essentially, that's what Pods is. Pods is
Right.
Zora Classic, part of it. It's not all of it, but it's part of it. And that's why we like it better.
Pods is awesome.
Yeah.
Go ahead. I had two more kind of like questions about Zora. I have to remember because this is the other thing I wanted to ask. But this from Mikado, what I don't understand about Zora is how does the creator earn? Because a bunch of people bought my Zora coins, but if I sell my coins, I feel like rugging them. So there's two things. So, right, like the coin gets launched. You as the creator gets a certain percent. You can also buy more, but you automatically get. You also, what I understand is there's a transaction fee. Every time someone buys or sells, you get a transaction fee denominated in Sparks, right?
Yeah.
Not your coin. So that's like your Sparks.
Sparks are just ETH.
It's like sats.
Yeah,
they're like little like a very, very small percentage. It's like
Jacob's trying to make Sparks happen. Yeah, he's trying to make
But okay, so just think
meme.
You get a tiny amount of ETH. So that I think as a creator, you can feel like you are earning tiny transactions when people trade. My feeling of like when I coin things, I'm never like, oh, I have my TikTok strawberry coin that like I'm not gonna
dump that on people.
Like at the end of the day, right? Unless like money's only like we need money to buy goods and services.
Yeah.
I can't do that with my $$ TikTok strawberry.
TikTok strawberries.
So then it's like, so if I want to buy a cup of coffee today, it is off ramping it into something.
The sparks need to go.
And Mika's right. It will rug people, right? Like, so
that's been one of my big criticisms. And Ripe and I have had this conversation, and this is what I mean by this is early when they switched this model. That is the biggest way in which to earn is to, if you have a viral post, is to sell the token, which then dumps on the people holding it, which pisses people off. Same thing with Clanker, by the way. Same thing with Clanker, except with Clanker, you're earning a little bit more in fees. So you feel less inclined to sell.
Yeah.
So, but because that's really the only thing. So when I did the stupid Giblify thing, which really was such a throwaway, like just a funny, like, hey, I'm going to do this funny thing. I was surprised at how much I earned in fees, but that also made me not want to sell anything. And that made it better for those who did buy, because then I was also even burning, and I need to go burn some more. Because you're earning from the token as well. So you're getting some in the token. So I ended up with like more than 1 billion of the actual token plus ETH. So I just started burning the token that I was getting, because also I don't want to sell it. I don't want to dump on people's heads. There's no reason to do that if you're also earning a fee. So it's a weird balance, almost like a dance of like, what do you do? So, but from a creator or artist point of view, like that's a definite crazy thing to have to think about, of like, if I do this, I'm going to piss people off. But if I don't do this, I may not earn any money. It's like a weird issue. So I don't know. Like that's one of the biggest problems. By the way, really good conversation in the chat going on between Mike and gregarious here. So, and I do think that, like, yeah, this was the big point. I think it's bad if we're holding it up as an ASA means to creator livelihoods. So I think that's the issue, and it's complicated. So from what I'm taking from Jesse's perspective is trying to switch the narrative so that we aren't as precious or worry as much about dumping on people's heads with a traditional meme coin. But where we are right now, and for those who are putting funds into things like this is where we are, right? So, like, where
Right.
people
What we need
have certain expectations, so it's hard to shift that mindset. You might be able to shift it to new people, but it's going to be hard for people who've been here for a while. That's, I think,
we need like a billion
challenge.
pieces of content that are all worth nothing.
Yeah.
And then that becomes the expectation.
Yeah.
So all you creators,
Exactly.
you're
Yeah.
okay.
All right, really quick, couple more quick things on this topic, and then we'll wrap. This was from Lucas from Pods. Content coins are net positive, but NFTs are often a better earnings mechanism for creators. Same podcast episode, Zora, $430 in volume, $1.20 earned. Pods, $45 in volume, $25 earned. 10x less volume, 20x more earnings. Coins equal virality and upside, NFT sustainability and higher floor. It's so early for on-chain content. There's room for both models to win. Agree. Also, what I like about Pods is that you can encourage people to mint your content by giving them another ERC20 that may or may not even be your own. So that to me is another like mechanism that is a better approach, in my opinion. Like, I'd rather reward folks for buying our content if at all possible. So yeah. And also it comes down to, we want you to watch it too.
Right. The reason, I think one of the reason people get upset at Zora is because you were taking something away that we liked.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
And to Lucas's point, it's like, have both. Like there's actually, we want them both. And
there's value to both.
Yeah.
There's value to both. But for creators who are doing something like a podcast, highly recommend that you check out Pods. And it is using the old Zora contracts. So there you go. This was from Alan 11 from Variant. I believe all of these things simultaneously. 1, expanding the set of ways for people to earn online or on chain is good, and Zora is playing a role in this. 2, earning on platforms like Zora is not apples to apples comparison with Instagram payouts. It's an actively bad comparison when reasoning about second order effects. The top of funnel source of funds is entirely different. Businesses looking to convert customers on Insta versus retail consumers on Zora. Good point. 3, the business model for tokenized content is still immature. It took attention platforms years of iteration to hone ads-based business models and years more to start sharing with the people creating content. It'll likely take many iterations to figure out sustainable models for tokenized content, i.e., it can't just be retail speculating, but accelerating the timeline for sharing earnings with creators is good. I thought this was really well said, but we can't compare it all. And it kind of goes back to where I started with V's. Here are the different ways and different things. This from Proxy. Today, Clanker team shipped content coins, now live. Ideologically, it took a lot, but dev lift was 0. We actually had it live already and didn't know. I'm here for Proxy's spicy takes lately. You can already do this with Clanker as well. That's exactly what he means, but only thing you can't do is video, but you can do GIFs and images. So there you go. Another option.
Clanker was a coin, right? It was coin first, and you could add an image. Guess what? Content coin.
Yeah, content coin.
Yeah.
And a couple more things. Remember how much of this is from TLDR. Remember how much most of Farcaster was worried about, scoffed at, looked down on, doubted early degen. I do, because I felt that way. I didn't. And remember how quickly we changed our tune once DGen succeeded and got attention, and how it helped the network to a big growth moment. This experience makes me much more humble about casting stones. And instead, I'd prefer to be open-minded, give things a little time to play out, and most importantly, do what I can to help out the builders who I believe in with whatever they happen to be trying. So this was in regards to Stephen Sill saying, is CT going to shut the fuck up now? Because this is when it went back up. And
I didn't
you
even
know what? That was, yeah, that was part of the thing, is like when the numbers started going back up, there was a lot less complaining.
Okay. Number one, CT is not going to STFU.
No,
that's
never.
Not on brand.
Not what they do.
Two, totally agree with TLDR and the like. Everyone has opinions, but you just don't know.
I don't know.
One thing I think is hilarious was, no, I'm forgetting who it was. Someone shared an article from Fortune about the base. It's the Coinbase. And we forget that Coinbase is a public company, and it's like, oh, Coinbase public company launched a meme coin and rugged everyone. Yeah. Anyway, so he shared this article.
Not good.
And in the article alone, that one of the founders of Pump.Fun or Pump Fun was quoted. But they describe Pump Fun as like the standard bearer for meme coins. It's like this is the. Do we not remember the controversy of live streams that happened?
Oh my God. Yeah.
6 weeks, like 2 months ago.
2 seconds ago.
I don't know. And now it's like, let's bring in the adult in the room who's a guy who is the established meme coin launcher. Like, what? Anyway, so people have short memories and like the outrage. Anyway, by the way, 29 minutes of Farcaster news.
I know.
I didn't even tell you this. I have a 10 o'clock meeting.
So we got to let you go.
That I assumed, I was like,
I assume we'd be done by now. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't even realize. So
speed run a couple other quick things. This was from Jesse. As people assume this week was some coordinated marketing campaign. The truth is, the effort to coin things from base went from 0 to 1 in less than a day, with Drew Coffin doing the creative and only goal being to use on-chain tools. Everything else happened. Coins are viral, I guess. So in other words, Zora team didn't know. This is, again, if you weren't paying attention, this would seem like it came out of the blue, but really they've been putting stuff on Zora since literally day one. There's a NFT called Day One. But here was the really funny part, and this is what would explain this for those who know. Who the hell is Drew Kaufman? Many are saying
that's hilarious.
Hi, Drew. This is for you today. So that was really funny. We know Drew. This was from Kecker's. Really good conversation about this as well, talking about tipping. This is where there started to be conversations about bringing back Warp's tipping, but for other tokens. And this was from Ted. Strong opinion, somewhat strongly held. Creatives don't want to create content traders. The word trader is inherently transactional, someone primarily seeking profit, optimizing for price movement without emotional or physical attachment to the asset itself. I don't know a single creator who seeks that out. And I agree. I prefer collectors personally. And then I want to reward them for that. Brad, also very funny. Content, Mark Safe from Content Coin Kerfuffle today. You should have coined that. If you didn't, really, you should. This was from Naomi that we didn't get to. I meant to put it in the other section. Reminder, bringing the world on chain brings the world on chain. Go give that a read. It will be in our show notes. This was from Nicholas. Does the timeline want me to spit fire? Nicholas got a little back to the crankiness. Do you think Sema is fretting about contact coins? Do you think P. Marca, Balaji, or Ilya even have an opinion? Actually, I think they probably do. Everyone talking about this saga has a fake job and no ambition to actually do anything themselves, spending their time on Twitter, commenting on forgettable fluff. Yeah, he was a little cranky, but also great points. And then lastly, this from Dan. Welcome to Jacob, co-founder of Zora. He kindly agreed to do an AMA. So go check that out, because also, do you know what's happening 2 days from now?
Another AMA?
No, Zora, the $sign Zora coin is dropping on the 23rd. sometime on the 23rd. That has been in the works for quite a while. They said a while ago that it would be dropped sometime in the spring. The spring is apparently 2 days from now. So those who have created content in the past on Zora may or may not be rewarded with an airdrop. We'll see how it all goes. But look for that on Wednesday. So
great.
Okay. Here we go.
Okay, so
that was a lot. Thank you.
We took a week off. I think we probably could have gone for.
So big thing for the rest of this week. Wednesday, we're going to be on at 11:30 a.m. We'll start with news, and then we have VP Abundance joining us, James from Octon, talking all things Octon, including the new Farcaster round that is coming very soon, as well as all the other things they have going on. And then Friday back at 8:30 a.m. with Emma from the Farcon team talking about all things Farcon, which is happening next week. And oh my God. Very excited, but a lot to do. All right. And with that, anything else, Adrian? I think that's it. All right, everybody. It's been a blast. Bye. Thanks, everybody, for hanging. And with that, we will see you on the timeline and back on Monday. I'm looking for my season 3 thing. There we go. And with that, everybody, bye-bye.